Story begins with an alien-like man who has come to Amsterdam for the first time, leaving his family behind for his job. Upon reaching his office, he is shown his accommodation where he would be staying. He has a brief conversation with his wife and family, informing them that he forgot his earphones on the train. He decides to go to the market shortly to get them. A little while later, he enters a building where there is an electronics store, meaning he could get earbuds from there. The atmosphere was completely normal. He had just started to pick up the earphones when suddenly, outside the building, a car was seen stopping, from which a man emerged with a gun in hand and went inside, starting to fire rapidly. These bullets weren't hitting people. He was firing into the air, but it was enough to cause panic. He hadn't stopped anyone here yet. Frightened, people quickly began to leave the store. An Indian too ducked under a table to save himself from the bullets, while another man working there took some people with him to hide in the storeroom to save their lives. The place had almost emptied. For this, the terrorist suddenly turns on the alien and takes him hostage. Outside the store, there were already 2 police officers who started shooting at the terrorist to stop him, and the terrorist began firing back wildly at them. The officers hid behind a roadblock. Until now, the terrorist believed he had taken only one person hostage, which he thought was enough leverage to carry out any robbery or enforce his demands. However, in reality, there was another office in the building where approximately 40 people were now trapped because of him. He shows the police officers standing in front of him a switch and tells them that he has brought a bomb with him, and if there is any attempt to harm him or if he feels that someone is trying to be clever with him, he will detonate the bomb and destroy the entire building. It is Safi. He was only talking about this building at the moment, but the government was now aware of the threat to the lives of 39 people, which the terrorist did not know about. If the terrorist were to find out about this, he could cause significant damage and all those lives would be at risk. How many police officers now go along with the interests of the building, and the police headquarters contact the terrorist and ask what exactly he wants. The terrorist tells them that he needs to speak to someone who can establish contact with the government for him. He has some demands, and if they are not met, he will press a single button and destroy the entire building because he has a very large bomb. The 4 people hiding in the storeroom were also listening intently to the terrorist. However, the terrorist was still unaware that there were people hiding in the storeroom. Therefore, I promptly contact the police and inform them that I, along with 3 other individuals, are concealed within the storeroom of the same building where the terrorist is present, and he remains unaware of our presence. I provide the police officer with a substantial amount of information about this terrorist that could be beneficial to them. This terrorist has arrived here by himself and does not have any accomplice. Upon his arrival, he did not harm anyone but merely discharged shots into the air, and currently, he has only taken a single person hostage. As time was advancing, the situation was becoming increasingly serious. The anxiety of the 40 individuals upstairs was escalating, and evacuating them was the government's utmost priority, a mission they were determined to keep concealed from the terrorist. Consequently, a team of special forces had also arrived at the building. The 2 police officers who had previously fired at the terrorist were still under his control. He could shoot at them at any given moment. They were taking cover behind a rock for their safety. That's why the police dispatched a vehicle there, under the cover of which these 2 police officers could potentially save their lives. They escaped from there. At this time, the most anxiety was inside the alien, who had the terrorist continuously pointing a gun at his head. Any delicate movement could cost him his life. Now, at the police headquarters, a government spokesperson had arrived, meaning the officer who was to listen to the terrorist demands was present. The entire situation was explained to her, detailing how the motorist had gone inside the building firing bullets in the afternoon. He hadn't taken the people there hostage but had only captured one person. He also had a bomb with which he was threatening to blow up the empty building. He still didn't know that the building. There are 40 people trapped on the floor, and an additional 4 people are stuck in the building storeroom. The police are trying every possible way to outsmart him and evacuate the people from the upper part of the building. However, until that time, we need your assistance. Officer Lenny asks him what exactly the terrorist wants. He explains that the terrorist has some demands that he wants the government to fulfill. Now, for the first time, Lenny sits down to speak directly with the terrorist and asks him his name. The terrorist responds, "You can call me AA." Before she could ask any more questions, the terrorist says, "I'll talk to you later. The person I've taken hostage wants to say something to me." In fact, the alien wanted to tell him that he is a heart patient. "The medicine I take is in my bag. Please give it to me or my condition will worsen." This terrorist, he wanted the hostage, an Indian, to die on his own, and even though the government wouldn't listen afterwards, he reluctantly gave him the medicine to help him. However, they didn't have any water. He suggested taking the medicine with Red Bull,
But heart patients cannot take medicine with Red Bull. The call was cut off, but before that, Lily had heard the name of the medicine and, upon searching, found out that the hostage was a patient with an alien part and it wasn't safe for him to remain in that situation for long. He calls the police again and, speaking to the lady, says that he needs 200 million. I need it in my account. Hearing this, I'm shocked and say that this is a very big deal. I will need some time for this. As we discuss it, the man says that if you do not meet my demand, I will press a single button and destroy this entire place. Saying this, he cut the call, but then he asks, do you think you have made such a big demand? Will the government agree to your terms? To which he replies, it must be honored. Otherwise, understand that your life will be at risk. Along with that, I will destroy this entire building, which will lead to my death as well. I'm already fed up with life. If I die, I will not regret it, and if my demands are met, at least I can live the rest of my life well. At the very least, I can live the rest of my life well. Then I can do everything I want. I just want to claim my rights from this government. I had lots of taxes to them, but in return, they haven't provided the services we deserve. Thousands like me have been left in the lurch, and I'm speaking for all those people. The alien was actually trying to talk to him, understand him, and seize the opportunity to escape. But perhaps the terrorist understood his game. So, in anger, he told the alien to keep quiet and took a selfie with him, which he sent to a media house. The worker in the store had hidden the customers. One of the customers started shouting at the worker saying, "It's because of you that I'm in this mess. If you hadn't stopped me and shown me the battery at that time, I would have left here 5 minutes earlier and been free." Listening to this, the ladies say, "If it weren't for this, you wouldn't even be alive right now. We wouldn't even be alive. It was because of this that we were able to hide here and save our lives." Later, understanding the situation, he apologizes for the reason. The worker didn't take it badly either because he knew that everyone was in a bad state due to fear. The photo that the terrorists sent to the media house with the alien also reached the police. They examined the picture closely and thought the bomb he had was a fake one. That's why they ordered the special forces. First and foremost, it had to be determined whether the bomb was real or not. If the bomb turned out to be fake, it would have been much easier to control the terrorist. Here, a member of the special forces, he contacts the vehicle Blessant and asks if there's another way into the store where the 40 people in the upper section can be evacuated. He provides the bullet's path, but there was another problem. This building was fully automated. At 9 o'clock, the lights would go out. He says that the lights going out should not give the terrorist any indication and cause him to detonate the bomb. This information was quite useful for them, but she immediately contacts the terrorist and informs him that the lights will go out at 9, so he should not panic. This building is fully automated. We are telling you this in advance so that you cannot react. Even though everything had been clearly explained to him, AA still felt it was all a police trick. That's why he threatened the alien again and threatened to kill him. The alien was so frightened that he began to plead for mercy, begging to be spared, saying, "Please let me go. I have a wife and children." The terrorist angrily silenced him. He was now fully alert, ready to act if anyone tried to enter in the dark. However, after a short while, the lights came back on and he said to the ladies, "You must be playing games with me." "You're playing games? You said the lights would go out, but they're back on." We explained that this setup was also arranged by us to prevent any chaos here. Now Teres says, "Fulfill my demands quickly, otherwise I might get shot at any time, and also create a safe route for me so that I can take this person with me, because I know if I go alone, you people might kill me at any point. Until I reach a safe place, I will keep Sadhvi with me." Hearing this, they say, "You won't do anything with Musatmi, and neither will I let you. We will cooperate with you and you cooperate with us." On the other hand, the officer gets the worker in the storeroom to hand draw a map of the entire building and sends it to them. Quietly, they also enter the building and start evacuating the 40 people upstairs. They also start evacuating people. Now, the terrorist doesn't realize this because a police officer is constantly talking to him to distract him. They tell him that the person he has, the alien, is a heart patient. You were about to give him Red Bull for medicine, which could prove fatal for him. While talking, he starts wandering around and accidentally looks into the camera. The police officers, without masks, conduct a foreign search. This individual, Amar, was mentally unstable and had previously been in a psychiatric hospital. Currently, Tire Beast, as we refer to him, wanders around the store and approaches the storeroom where 4 individuals are located. When he attempts to open it, he finds it locked from the inside. He presumes it's a building mechanism and disregards it. Meanwhile, the special forces efficiently evacuate 40 individuals from the upper levels. A worker in the store contacts the police once more, reporting that there is a woman in the storeroom who may be experiencing a heart attack. They start to get more anxious. They ask the worker about the girl's condition and her symptoms, which reveals that she wasn't having a heart attack, but just a panic attack, which would subside shortly. Meanwhile, as things calm down, Lily speaks to us and asks, "Suppose the government agrees to all your demands. What will you do once you leave here?"
He responds, "Why does it matter to you what I do?" However, he insists that he has one condition. He wants a limo to live in so he can feel very royal. Outside, there were still many special forces personnel standing with their snipers. One of them trips over a shoelace, falls and panics. He fears the police or special forces might kill him. Tashi. So he threatens the alien again with a gun, saying, "I won't talk to you anymore. I need a senior officer. Connect me now." He warns that if they don't connect him with a senior officer in 5 minutes, he'll shoot the alien. Outside, some soldiers had to rush here urgently due to this terrorist operation. Despite being on leave, 100 of them came. He was troubled as his family was deeply affected by his sudden departure. His wife was upset with him, and another soldier explained that he shouldn't upset them. Be grateful that even as a soldier, you have a family. I don't even have that. Now, 5 minutes had passed and they hadn't managed to contact any senior. So Amma started the countdown. As soon as he reached the number 2, he asked what color car he wanted. Our people, forgetting their own countdown, started telling him they wanted an ink limousine. This way, they got caught up in the conversation and their lives were spared for a little while. They arrive. He was in constant contact with our special forces. Alan says, "You've been talking for ages, can't you get me water? The red Wolven medicine is making me feel worse." Aman tells him to hush, but LNB gets upset, saying, "Either kill me now or get me water or I'll die anyway." Hearing this, Amma demands water from the police. The water arrives, placed beyond the barricade. As Amman approaches one side to get it, he tricks them and escapes through the other side of the Indian door, saving himself. He saves his life. Seeing this, Amma became very angry. As he ran after the alien to catch him, the soldier who was just talking about his family came driving quickly and ran over Amma with the car, but did not kill him. Amma, in his last moments, couldn't even press his remote, which saved the store as well. The police breathed a sigh of relief and rescued the remaining 4 people inside, bringing them out. It was discovered that the bomb with Mr. was real, and if these people hadn't acted wisely today, many lives could have been lost. Finally, everyone was saved. Through the special forces, Alien Go is taken to his appointment and the rest of the people also return to their homes. What happened with Ellen at that time just felt like a bad dream to him. He takes out his earbuds from his pocket, puts them in his ears and starts crying. That's what he went to get, and he had put his life in danger for it. At the end of the movie, we find out that this film is based on a true story, and with this revelation, the movie ends here.